When Johnson talked a Cape Cod businessman into opening a restaurant using his name, concept, and food in exchange for a fee, franchising was born.
Howard Johnson's next up.
Franchising is simply a licensed way of selling products or services. Theoretically, in my opinion, and I genuinely mean this, it is one of the most effective ways of marketing that I've ever bumped into.
But in practice, Boston attorney Harold Brown has represented hundreds of franchisees who've lost their shirts buying into what they thought was a sure thing.
Once the franchisee is signed up, he is literally helpless from that moment forward.
I was wined, dined, and screwed by Subway.
Brian Ray says he did his homework before buying into a franchise that modestly calls itself the largest growing franchise in the history of the world. He knew that by some estimates, 80% or more of all independent startup businesses fail, while franchises are reported to fail less than 15% of the time. And with Subway, the numbers were even better.
I was told at training, when I asked the question, what is the failure rate of Subways? And I was told by one of the trainers in class, less than 2%.
After months of being wooed by the sandwich giant, Ray confidently put up the $70,000 necessary to become part of the Subway family. But within weeks, he began to realize that his faith had been misplaced. The Subway development agent who was supposed to be Ray's guide in setting up his store proved to be little or no help.
And I said, I thought you were supposed to be knowledgeable, and he wasn't.
Then, when the building Ray's store was in was foreclosed on, Subway, who held the master lease, voided the agreement they'd signed with him, an agreement that had assured Ray his rent and utility costs would stay steady, with only small increases for the next 20 years.
This store is going out of, closing up at the end of the month because we're being evicted. We're being evicted because Subway lost our lease. We leased from Subway.
Oh. Subway wanted Ray to sign a new agreement that would increase his monthly costs by $1,000, on top of their sizable 8% cut of his store revenues. Since they held the master lease, he found himself with no bargaining power. Either agree to pay expenses he knew would eventually put him out of business, or refuse to sign and face immediate eviction, losing his business and life savings.
I'm going to lose. I know I am. I'm never going to regain what I get into it.
Brian Ray is not alone.
The night we closed, my wife and I actually went out and celebrated. Can you believe anybody could be that happy losing $60,000?
Dick Halloran, now in real estate, says that his store was doomed to fail, and that with 20 years' experience, Subway should have known it. A stranger to the business, Halloran trusted Subway when they put his store at the far end of a strip mall, not visible from the street, and approved a rent that even he felt was exorbitant.
How many sandwiches would you have to sell a day to make that rent and make a profit?
Millions, believe me.
Despite working night and day to make it work, Halloran's store lasted only 16 months.
Subway may help you.
When they heard we were doing a story, several Subway owners called us with success stories. While both happy and disgruntled franchisees agree the Subway product is excellent, store failures in the Boston market appear to be happening at a rate of 1 in 5. Though he is still holding on to his Subway in Malden, Gary Bedrosian lost $90,000 after opening a second store in Saugus. When he realized it was in trouble, he asked the corporate office for help competing with the better-known sandwich shops in the area. But the support and protection he'd been promised in the beginning were nowhere to be found.
What we asked for was not a handout. What we asked for was advertising dollars, assistance in increasing the awareness of the Subway name in the New England area. What we received was the cold shoulder.
But Subway diverts the blame. While acknowledging the high cost of doing business in the competitive Boston market, Subway insists the success of any business depends on the hard work, dedication, and skill of the store owner.
Rainham was open less than a year. Attleboro was open less than 2 years. Are we all bad businessmen? I don't think so.
The experience shared by Subway owners reflects inequities in franchising everywhere. One franchisee goes out of business, another comes along, pays his franchise fee, and opens up. It's a cycle played out over and over, leaving the franchisor counting his money and the franchisee holding the bag.
We spent a lot of money for nothing. because I've got nothing in the end.
Late last week, Brian Ray closed his Subway store and started looking for a job. His loss amounts to more than $100,000. Some reports put the failure rate of Subways as high as 40% nationwide, with an even larger number of franchisees losing money every month but still hanging on. The problems dealing with huge corporate franchisors are serious, but the risks in dealing with smaller, unknown companies may be even greater. And we'll look at some franchisees who gambled and lost tomorrow night. I'm Susan Warnick, News Center 5.